Good day, everyone. Um, this course is database management with front end and back end development. Right, before we dive in, I would like us to pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this privilege you're given to me to teach your people. I ask that as I teach them this day, that you give them wisdom and retentive memory to understand the concept of this course. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's dive in. So, we are understanding the intersection of data, front end, and back end. I'm instructor. My name is Dixon Wisdom. The overview for this course. Introduction. Welcome to this comprehensive overview of database management, front-end development, and back-end development. We will explore the fundamental key concepts and integration strategies. Our objective for this course is understand database management principles. We will learn front-end and back-end development basics. We explore the integration techniques, and our agenda is database management, front-end development, back-end development, integration, and conclusion. Note that this course is not a practical course, it's just based on theory. Later on, I'll upload a video that talks more on the practical of this, but for now, this is just the theoretical aspect of this course. Alright, now what is database management? Before I explain what database management is, I would like to also explain what is database. Database is where they store data. So in simple words, database stores data. Alright, and database management system refers to the process of designing, implementing, and maintaining databases to store, retrieve, and manage data. So that's what database management does. It designs, it implements, and maintains the stored data that the database has stored. So we just look for example, a library. We have a library and the shelf is like the database, the books is the data, and the librarian is the database management system. So the librarian is the one that cleans the book, manage the books, check the catalogs, and do some operations to the books, make sure that the books is updated, remove books when necessary, then update the books, change the books, clean it, and the rest of it. So that's what database management system do. As I said earlier, database stores your data, while database management system manages, implements, designs, retrieve, and manage your data. Right. So the importance of this of database management. Effective database management ensures data integrity, security, and scalability. So why they implement database management system to ensure data integrity, security, and scalability. All right. Now we have types of databases. We have relational databases. We have non-SQL databases, or you can say non-relational databases. We have graph databases. We have object-oriented databases. So under the relational databases, we have MySQL as DBMS, database management system. We have PostgreSQL. We have Oracle. And under NoSQL databases, we have MongoDB. We have Cassandra. We have Redis. And under graph databases, we have Neo4j, we have Amazon Neptune. And under object-oriented databases, we have DB4o, we have Matisse. Database design principles. So we have design principles we use in our database. Number one says here is entity relationship modeling. It's one of the design principles we use for our database. It defines entities, attributes, and relationship between your data. Number two, we have normalization. It minimizes data redundancy and dependency. It makes sure when you use this principle, make sure data is independent of itself. And we have demonalization, which it optimize query performance, make sure your data is arranged orderly, make sure that your data can be accessed very well, speed. And the last one, we have data modeling. We have conceptual, we have logical, we have physical modeling. So most of this thing is based on mostly practical. So when we have the practical section of this course, I think most of this will be explained better with the practical. So we have popular database management system. Number one is MySQL database system. It's an open source relational database management system. We have PostgreSQL. It's an open source relational database management system. We have MongoDB is a non-SQL document-based database, and we have Oracle is enterprise relational database management system. All right, and most of you be like checking online that if you search types of database, you see MySQL, you see PostgreSQL, you see MongoDB, and if you search types of database management system, you still see MySQL, you see PostgreSQL, you see MongoDB. Actually, they have those are examples of a database. So sometimes when we go online, these researches, I'm not saying they are not correct, but there's more to it. It's depending on the way you search your request. So those are under examples of examples of database and types of database management system. Though we have types of database is actually different. So moving on, front end development overview. So we are done with some basics fundamentals of database. So the front end development overview. What is front end development? Front end development focuses on building user interface and user experiences for web application. So that's the job of a front end. I know you used to hear something like front end developer. There are guys, people that build the user interface and the user experience, UI UX designed for web applications, for mobile applications as well. And what's the importance of front end development overview? So the importance is a well-designed front end enhances user engagement and conversion rate. So for example, we look like a site like LinkedIn or Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, their user interface is actually friendly. That's why a lot of persons are on WhatsApp. WhatsApp have over 2 billion people using WhatsApp because WhatsApp is user friendly, is its user experiences are actually interactive, very very interactive, it's fast, and because of the way they built it, because of the way they built the front end of it. So front end plays a very important role in um, our development, web development, mobile app development, and the rest of it. Front end is one of the essential thing we must consider because it's the front end that actually keep the user in that site you're building, the application you're building. If your front end is looking dull, it's looking is not fast enough, it's looking is not compatible, it's not consistent, and the rest of that, the user gets frustrated and just deletes the application. But if your front end is actually fast, is user friendly, is compatible, is consistent, the user enjoys the application and continue using it. So the role of front end is a client-side logic, user interaction, and visual design. It's only what the user can see. The user is only what the user can see. The front end is the side the user can see. All right, let's go further. We have front-end frameworks and libraries. We have React is one of the JavaScript library for building user interface components. It's one of the very popular frameworks that is used today. We have Angular, is still a JavaScript framework for building single-page applications. We have Vue.js, is still a JavaScript framework, progressive JavaScript framework. We have Ember.js, it's a JavaScript framework for building web applications. Mostly why they are saying JavaScript here, because JavaScript is a scripting language and it's mostly used for web applications. So any web application makes use of JavaScript, most especially JavaScript frameworks, because it is actually built like that. We cannot use a programming language like C Sharp or C++ to build web application, though it can still be used to build the server side of the web application. But for the front end, you can't use C++ or C Sharp to build it because it's mostly used for game. They use C Sharp or C++ to build games. But JavaScript is like the guy is like the guy of web development. So when you talk about web applications, web app, responsive web designs, some mobile applications make use of JavaScript and their frameworks, which are listed here: React, Angular, Vue.js, Ember.js. So just like this image is saying, we have jQuery, React, Lodash, we have Anime.js, we have Backbone, ChatJS, and the rest of it. JavaScript is just the guy for the web application. So if you're thinking of going into web development, want to be a web developer, I think you pick JavaScript as a course for you to learn. After that, you learn the frameworks, and JavaScript can also be used for mobile applications and the rest of it. It's just everywhere. JavaScript can be used for desktop application, make use of TypeScript. Um, it's just is everywhere. That's why JavaScript is most very popular, because of its ability to be used in different applications. Alright, so we'll be looking at HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Just like this image is saying, the HTML is a hypertext markup language for structuring content. So just imagine a building. So your HTML is the blocks you're using, while the CSS cascading tiles sheets for styling. Imagine CSS as your paint, your designs, the beauty makes it fine, just like is in this illustration, in this image. This guy over here has a skeleton. This is like the HTML, while the flesh and the beauty, the clothes, everything is like the CSS. While JavaScript is a programming language for client-side logic and functionality. So this image is saying that JavaScript is the brain, because JavaScript is the one that actually add functionality to your web pages, to your mobile applications. Without JavaScript, your front end or your user interface is not interactive. The user cannot actually interact with the software, with the website, without JavaScript. So JavaScript is like the brain of the user interface, just like in this image. Without your brain, you don't know what's going on around you. With your brain, you know when someone touch you, you know when you're hungry, you interact with people. It's just like that with this programming language. HTML, CSS, JavaScript are the basic languages used to build front end. And we have the best practices is separation of concern, accessibility, performance, optimization. All right, let's keep going. So front end development tools, we have Webpack is a module bundler and build tools. We have Babel is a JavaScript transpiler. We have npm is a package manager. We have yarn is a package manager. We have git is a version control system. So we use git to control our software. Sometimes when you upload it on your GitHub account, you can actually control it from your Git account. So these are front-end development tools. IDEs are there. We have integration development environment for building and the rest of it. Okay, let's move over to back-end development overview. So what is back-end? Back-end development focuses on building server-side logic. We have database integration, API connectivity. So that is what back-end is all about: the server-side logic, database integration, API is application programming interface, connectivity. So for example, we have a website application. When they are done building the front end of it, the back end is needed, because we need to build the logic of how it works, and we need to integrate our database to store our data and to manage our data, because the user actually will create an account, probably log in, and manages data that the user interacts with in the user interface. So it's just like this. The user, for example, you're working on Facebook, you want to create an account, you interact with Facebook to create an account. Then the back end is actually the one doing the logic of it. The back end is the one that works on your data that is being used on the front end. So the database actually stores your data, and whenever you need that data, the database, the back end, send it back to you. So the importance of back end: a robust backend ensures data security, scalability, and performance. So one of the importance of backend is for security, scalability, speed, performance, and the role of backend is server-side logic, database integration. We make good use of databases with backend. The two of them works together, and API integration as well. So just like this image, we are seeing back-end developer responsibility. So if you really want to go into back-end development, you can look at data science, web and mobile development, cybersecurity, business logic development, payment process configuration, system architecture management. So there are a lot of opportunities on the back-end side. You can be a front-end engineer, you can also be a back-end engineer. There's also full stack engineer, you can also be a full stack engineer, whereby you understand both front end and the back end. Alright, so backend frameworks and libraries, we have Node.js, it's a JavaScript runtime environment. We have Express.js, it's a Node.js framework for building web applications. We have Dango, it's a Python framework for building web applications. We have Ruby on Rails, Ruby framework for building web applications. So all those we have other frameworks, but these are the ones that um, are mentioned in this tutorial. So we have different other programming language or server-side languages for building the back end. We have PHP. You can also use Java. You can also use C++ and the rest of it. All right. So back end programming languages. We have Java. We have Python. Those was the this I want to clarify something. This is the back end frameworks and libraries. So this one is the back end programming languages. Back end programming language, Java, Python, as I said earlier, Ruby, PHP. So those were the framework. Why this is the programming language. So Java is an object oriented language. While Python is a multi-paradigm language. Ruby is an object oriented language. PHP is a server side scripting language. Alright, so any of these languages you pick up and you learn them, you can actually use them for your backend and make your money. Alright, next we are looking at backend development tools. We have programming languages. These are the tools that we use in building our backend. Number one, you take up a programming language, Java, Python, PHP, or any framework, Node.js, and etc. Can pick up Express.js, Dango, Spring Boot as framework you want to work with. And also you have to pick up a database you want to use to store your data and to manipulate your data and the rest of it. We have MySQL, we have PostgreSQL, MongoDB, and etc. With version control, which is Git, GitHub, GitLab, etc. So you make use of these development tools to efficiently build your database. And we have deployment tools, we have Docker, we have Kubernetes, we have Jenkins, etc. So most of this really makes sense when you're working with the practical aspect of this. Um, okay. Integration of front end and back end development with database. Um, so I'm going to explain how they integrate with each other. Number one, we have data consistency. Integrated front-end, back-end, and database management ensure data consistency across applications. So with the help of you integrating your front-end, back-end, and database helps consistency of your web application, of your software, of your mobile application in different platforms and different applications. We also have API connectivity. As I said earlier, API is application programming interface. API connectivity, we have RESTful API enable communication between front end and back end, facilitating data exchange. I think I'm going to stay long on this a bit. When a user actually enters a website or is an app mobile application, and for example the user is new to the site and something comes up to register to create an account, and the user is actually interacting with that front end creating an account. So once the user creates this account, the front end actually sends a request to the back end and the back end actually responds to it. So I think that one is a course for another day. I'll explain very well how this works. The request, the response, RESTful API on its own. Give a detailed explanation on it. So the way it interacts, the front end sends a request to the back end responds to it. Or for example, you're registered into a platform and you want to log in, you're sending a request to the back end. So the back end responds to that request and check in the database whether that credentials is actually valid, and it sends back a response which is maybe login successful or you're registered, yeah, stuffs like that. So I think I'm going to put on a course on just on RESTful APIs and how front end and back end interact with database and the rest of it, to be a detailed course. And number three here is database integration. Back-end development interacts with databases, ensuring data storage and retrieval. So the back-end interacts with the database, ensure the data is being stored and it can be retrieved at any time. We have user interface. Front-end development provides an intuitive user interface utilizing back-end data. So your front-end development provides an intuitive user interface and it utilizes the back-end data. And the last one here is security. Integrated development ensures data encryption, authentication, and authorization. So this is actually the work of the backend. It makes sure that it is safe, it's encrypted, it is authentic, and is authorized. All right, so these are integrations of front end and back end development with database management. Said earlier, this is a it's like a crash course. It's a very brief course. We're not really going deep into it. It's just for you to have an understanding on it. Later on, we'll put on a course on this that talks mainly on the integration of front end and back end development with database. All right, and the summary, I think this is the end of this course. Summary, the key takeaways is database management fundamentals. You're able to understand the database management fundamentals, front end and back end development basics, integration strategies. And the main points here is relational and non-relational database, or you can call it no SQL databases. You understand that there are two types of databases. We have database management system rather. We have relational databases and we have non-relational databases. And also we were able to look at the front end frameworks, React, Angular, Vue, etc., and back-end frameworks, Node.js, Express.js, Dango, and we talked briefly on RESTful APIs and data modeling. All right, and the recap of this is effective integration of database management, front end and back end development enhances data integrity, user experience, and scalability. So I come again, I said effective integration of database management with front end and back end development enhances data integrity, user experience, and scalability. All right, thank you very much for this course. I believe that by the end of this course, you guys are